welcome to Stillworks and Brewing. My name is Randy, and this is a channel that's all about home distillation and brewing. So what do we got going on today? Well, today we are going to make a corn vodka. Okay, so we're going to get it started. You know, there's a commercial vodka out there that begins with a T and ends with O''S. That's a corn vodka, and it is delicious, and I like it. So I've had some people ask me to make some, and I decided, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And I do find that corn vodka it seems like it's a little bit of a sweeter taste, a little bit, and it just has a good flavor to it. So what are we going to use? We're going to use corn, and we're going to use some barley to help convert the starches over into sugars. So what is the main reason I want to make corn vodka is, well, number one, the taste. I love it. And number two, I need some vodka. I'm just about out. The first question you got to ask is, well, what is vodka? Well, vodka is a clear alcohol, and it has very little taste, but it always has a little, okay? It's typically made from grains such like barley, wheat, corn, even potatoes, which ain't a grain. You can pretty much make vodka out of anything. It's the process that makes it vodka, okay? So what we're going to do today is we're going to start the process, and this is going to be just like pretty much the same way that we make whiskey, we make bourbons. We need a mash. So we're going to make a corn mash for this vodka, for our corn vodka. Okay? So, alright. So, this is how we're going to do it. We're first going to make our mash, our corn mash. Then after that, we're going to distill it out. This will probably be in the next video. We're going to distill it out using our bubble column. And then proof it down, and then we'll have vodka. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing well, let me back up. What's the ingredients for our mash going to be? It's going to be 14 pounds of corn and 5 pounds of a malted 6-row barley, and I also will probably use some high temperature enzymes just to help us out. Okay. And if my numbers don't come up right, I need to adjust them up to get it. I want to be about 180 to 185, even 190, or 1.90, I should say. If I have to, I would just add just a little bit of sugar to get it up. I don't think I'm going to have to. Okay, so this is just yellow dead corn. I buy it at your local farm supply store. I was very surprised. From the last time I bought corn, a 50-pound bag dropped by $8. That is fantastic. So I got 50 pounds for $10 and like 50 cents. I thought that was fantastic. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is let's measure out our corn. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my scale here. And if you notice, I put my corn in. These are just 5-gallon buckets, and at Home Depot you can buy these adapter rings where you just have a spin-on lid. And as long as you keep that corn dry or your other grains dry, it stays forever almost. Alright, so let me measure out 14 pounds of corn. Okay, so we got the corn milled. I mean, it's coarse. It's not flour. I don't want flour. Okay, if you look, I just cut one kernel into a piece. I don't know if you can see that or not. But see where the white inside the kernel? And as you all know, that's the starch that we're after. Okay, so we have to crack that kernel open. That's why we mill our corn, to get to that starch. And then the way we're going to get that starch out is we will put it in hot water. What I will do is heat the water up to boiling, and then I will add the corn into my mash tun, and we'll leave it in there for about an hour and a half, and that hot water will gelatinize that starch that you see, and that's something that the grains and the enzymes will be able to take that starch and convert it over into fermentable sugars. Amazing. Water in my brew pot, so what I want to do is I want to start cooking my corn first. So let me dip over a few gallons of boiling water. Steamy. I could pump it over. Sometimes it's just as easy to dip it over. All right, I got a couple gallons in there. All right, I'm gonna just mix up some of my corn in here in my bucket. You just want to kind of go in slow. Yeah, we want to get all the corn wet. We want to avoid dough balls. It will get thick. As that corn starts to cook, it will get extremely thick. I think I'm going to need a little over half the corn, but it's getting pretty darn thick. Let me put a couple more pitchers of water in. Corn. A lot of people do this process a little bit different. I don't think there's no right way, wrong way, just a different way. I've had pretty good luck with cooking the corn this way. Plus it gives me time to go do other things. I see people where they put drills and paint stirrers on there, and hey, it all works. What we're really basically trying to do is get that starch out of that corn. Okay, that's all the corn. that stirred in. Remember, this is unmalted corn. This is just from your local farm supply. Just yellow dent corn, feed corn, whatever you want to call it. It's hot. I mean, it's thick like a porridge. Alright, I just want to check. I will check my temperature. One 171, 172, somewhere in that neighborhood. I'm going to put one or two more pitchers of the hot water in there. Let me mix that in. I mean, I can tell it's gelatinizing already. Alright. I think that's going to be good. Let it soak up all that water. Let it soak up that water. Okay. Let me just check my temperature one more time. And we are at 176, 175, somewhere in that neighborhood. There's reading 178. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is, let me double check my temperature. And it is 176, 176, okay. So what I'm going to do, and it's getting pretty thick. Okay, so what I'm going to do to help to thin it out before we add in our grain is I'm going to add a tablespoon plus a little smidgen of high temperature enzyme. Okay, it's good to about 190 degrees, I do believe. Give it a stir. And that just help it out. Alright, put a lid on it. Let it do its magic, okay? So I'm going to set my timer for an hour and a half. Then that's when we'll be back. Okay, so while our corn is cooking in the mash tun, let's take our 5 pounds of malted barley and I'm going to run it through the mill here. What you're basically trying to do is just, the mill will just crack open the that seed. Okay, so it'll crack open the seed so that we can get to the inside. Alright, it's been an hour and a half. Alright, look at that. I mean, it's getting a lot of liquid on top. That's from the enzymes I put in there. Let me bring you over so you can see this. I mean, you can see all the liquid on top. It's really getting thin. Alright, so that means the enzymes, the high temperature enzymes were doing their job. Okay, alright. Alright, so what I'm going to do next, just to finish it up, is I'm going to put in my barley. So what did we say this was? 5 pounds of... Let me back up. Almost messed up. Almost messed up. Let me check my temperature. It's at 171. A little bit too warm yet. I want to get like right around 160 or 65. Let me just stir this around a little bit. But I don't want to kill my enzymes that's in that barley. Alright, let me give this about 10 more minutes just with the lid off, just to let it cool down some. And then we'll be back to add that barley in. Temperature is 163, so I'm going to go ahead and put my barley in, because that will drop the temperature just a little bit. Alright, let me get all that stirred in. And then what this will be converting the rest. Now the high temperature did convert some of the sugars, or starches, over to sugars. This should finish it up. Alright. Alright, let me put a lid on this. And we'll probably give it about an hour, hour and 15 minutes. And then we'll be ready to sparge this over. So, it's a lot of hurry up and wait. But that's brewing. Alright, so we'll see about that. So what I need to do now is I sanitize my, everything's sanitized up. All I do is transfer the mash over into and sparge it out. This is always the fun part. Okay, let me get this sparged out, then we'll move on to the next step. Check our specific gravity, our starting gravity. 1.085. Hey, I'm happy with that. 1.085 is our starting gravity. The only thing I got to do now is, what I'll do is I'll put this in my fermentation room like usual, let it cool down, and later on tonight put some yeast in it and let it ferment. Usually it take, you know, a week to 10 days, somewhere in that neighborhood. Usually, sometimes less than a week, especially when it's a little bit warm out. So, I think we're about done for today. So, I guess the last thing I got to say, hey, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time here on Stillworks and Brewing. Cheers, everybody. Like always, now cleanup time. Ugh.